Chapter 4. Amid all the excitement generated by the coming of the 12th and the actual day itself, the Chambers family, like many Protestant families across the north, needed to find time to pack its bags for the annual holiday, which traditionally began on the 13th of July. In the early 1970s, there was no thought of getting on a plane to Torremolinos or Benidorm. Even if we could have afforded it, which we couldn't, the idea of leaving beautiful Northern Ireland for somewhere foreign would have seemed ridiculous. Some of the more adventurous types went to Scotland or Blackpool. In fact, half the families from Shankill and surrounding areas seemed to love Blackpool and went there annually. We weren't in that category. For the Chambers clan, aunties, uncles, grandparents, cousins, friends and a few dogs, our summer Shangri-La was a place called Walker's Caravan Park in Mill Isle, a seaside village on the Ards Peninsula in County Down. We also stayed at the Ballyferris Caravan Park, a couple of miles north of Mill Isle and located just by the beach. Mill Isle isn't more than 20 miles from Belfast, but for me it could have been on another planet altogether. It was a world away from the tension and the violence that surrounded us at all times in Belfast. Mill Isle was a peaceful and largely Protestant town that welcomed rowdy visitors from Belfast like us and saw to it that we had a good break. God knows, they must have known that we needed it. Ballyferris Caravan Park was full of Belfast Protestants from the Shankill and surrounding areas, and for us it was a home from home. We recognised neighbours and friends sunning themselves, if they were lucky, this is Northern Ireland after all, or spending time on the beach or in the local pubs. My granny and others of her generation thought nothing of sending postcards from Mill Isle to friends and family back in Belfast, even though it was just a few miles from our home. However, getting to Mill Isle from Belfast was a challenge. Cars that were in decent enough condition to do the distance were in short supply, and besides, we didn't have one of our own. So on the morning of the 13th, around 10 adults could be seen shepherding more than a dozen kids and Shep the dog, plus bags and belongings, to the bus stop that would take us into town. From there we'd walk over to the Oxford Street Ulster bus station in crocodile fashion, shoving each other off the pavements and fooling around until a well-aimed clip from Granny and a bellowed "Stop your messing" brought us back into line. Then we would get on the blue and white Ulster bus and noisily take over the whole thing for the journey. When we arrived, it must have seemed that our entire family had monopolised the park. We were greeted by other caravanners like long-lost relatives, and all their kids would team up with us to form a huge and semi-feral pack, intent on mischief and fun. Once we'd unpacked and settled in, all our caravans side by side, our destination was the big patch of grass at the centre of the site. For 2 weeks, this was our own personal football stadium, and although I wasn't much of a player, nor a fan, to be honest, I loved it when the teams were sorted out and I was picked to play on the same side as Dad. Like every other kid there, I told myself I was George Best, Manchester United's star player and a proud son of Belfast. The matches would go on for hours, or until the adults got fed up and headed for the site bar and a welcome pint of Harp Lager or a vodka and brown lemonade. Wee Sam and I were obsessed with the beach just below the site. It was full of rock pools and perfect for crab fishing. With David and cousin Pickle in tow, we'd spend ages lifting dozens of them from their pools, placing them into buckets and bringing them back up to the caravan park. Pickle, known as Stephen to his parents, was a younger cousin and was so named after an incident on a train to the coast. We were all off fishing for the day on the brand new train, and somehow Stephen managed to spill a jar full of pickled onions all over the seat, and became Pickle forever after. Back at the caravan park, we tipped the crabs out of the buckets and raced them against each other. The winning trainers would receive sweets or packets of crisps. Occasionally we fished for mackerel and cooked these on the barbecue. Once, when we were out in a little boat fishing for mackerel, a huge fin suddenly appeared in the water, and to our horror we recognised the huge shape of a shark silently shadowing us. To be fair, it was a huge plankton-munching basking shark, but nonetheless it frightened the life out of us, as Jaws had recently been on in the cinema, and we thought we were going to be eaten alive. We also went collecting willocks, the Belfast word for winkles, available
Sample complete. Ready to continue?